Hello, and welcome to Trekkie and Beyond, a Star Trek podcast. I'm Monica.
And I'm Andrea, and welcome to episode 8 of season 4 of Discovery, called All In. And so this episode basically is about Michael is tracking Book to an old haunt from the carrier days to try and stop him and that evil scientist from using the artificial spore drive to create an isolytic explosion. So I think last episode, I do want to say, I think I said isotope and it was isolytic, and I do apologize for all the mistakes I said last episode. So let's get into it. Initial reactions, Monica. What did you think of this episode?
I love this episode. Oh my goodness, I love this so much. And I'm all into this. It was gritty, it was suspenseful. There was like a hustle among hustles and a way mission, casino, everything that I liked merged into one. And who knew? I didn't know that Joanne could kick butt the way she did. I like her and I want to see more of her. And yeah, lots of drama. What did you think about this episode?
I hated this episode. And I hated this episode because so at the end of the last episode, they set it up for failure. Go back to episode 7 to just the end, to the preview they gave you for episode 8. I came into this episode thinking it was going to be a fast-paced action cat and mouse game of them like chasing them, and not this whole verbal tete-a-tete. I was expecting action. We saw Michael in the black uniforms. We saw the other people in the black uniforms, and it said next episode. And so it lay it was like coming February 9th, which was this because this season 4 happened in February of 2022. It was like coming February 9th, and the preview it showed was way more action packed than the episode we got. And so if it was just saying in the second half, that would have been better. But they said coming February 9th, and then they showed all these previews that were not in this episode. And so it made me think more was going to happen. And for it to really not be there, I was like, what is this? This was a waste of my time, because this was not what you advertised.
I think it was because it was a season break, but I didn't think of it as all of that was going to occur in one episode.
I did, because they didn't specify that and coming in the second half of the season, this. They said February 9th, and then they showed all these scenes, and literally maybe one was in this episode. And I was like, what is this? I was expecting a fast-paced, oh my gosh, edge of my seat episode, and it was a verbal sparring, basically, mostly, of this episode. And now I'm talking about between Book and Michael. You had the president being upset. You had just one person going after them when literally it should have been more Starfleet people going after them. It was so much more lackluster than I anticipated. I felt like this could have been like 15 minutes of an episode because, again, I feel like they dragged out so much. And then we also find out more about the DMA in this episode. And I don't know if I'm happy or mad about that instance. So
yeah, let's dive in.
Okay, so people, it seems the camaraderie that Monica and I had last episode is gone.
Yes.
Okay, so this episode starts off with the president of Starfleet basically trying to rip Vance a new one, and explaining that this guy was your guy. You gave him unfettered access. Like, why did no one rein him in? And it was just like, honey, you can't like, you also knew what this type of guy what that scientist was. Like, you could take some responsibility. And then she's also sort of blaming Michael, like how for some reason Michael's responsible for Book's actions. No, she did not tell him to go and steal it. She tried to stop him. She was literally on your side all of the last episode, President. And now you're like acting like she knew Book was going to disobey orders.
Okay. First of all, this is part of her MO. Mm-hmm. She passes blame to other folks, and she doesn't want to be there really to take the risk. Yep. So she's looking at it as some managers, some leaders not taking also partial responsibility with check-ins occasionally, but she's saying, what, the two of you, why didn't you know about this and why didn't I know about this? Like, she wants to pass blame on this and probably not fall on the sword if this goes down. She wants someone to blame, and she thinks the two of them should have been more on top of their game. I totally agree with you that she knew about Book and Michael's relationship a long time ago, and that wasn't a concern of her. It was a little bit, but she was like leveraging it and using it the last episode. So you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, you want to give the scientists some flexibility. They should have researched further and had more checks and balances. If there's protocols for passwords in order to get the prototype spore drive out, and Vance gave his passcode or allowed that to slip, that's on Vance. I agree with her on that. I haven't liked President Rilke, and I don't think I'm going to. But it was like they were being sent to the principal's office to explain their actions.
And it was like, and onto your point, it was, oh, look, we have something we agree on. Onto your point, she had to know how much leeway that man had, because and it goes to the point of she is fine with it as long as she's getting the results she wants. And the moment that she's not getting the results she wants, how did we not know this? Whose job was this? Why is this not happening? Like, how did you drop the ball? Hold up. You knew the ball was in the air at the same time I did. You were just fine because you were getting the results. Now, if it was really a big of an issue, you would have put a stop to Vance giving him all this leeway years, months, whatever ago. But because you were getting what you wanted, all good is fine. Everything's good in the hood. But now because, oh no, this is going to blow up in my face. Well, Vance, why'd you give him all that leeway? You knew. All project managers know. And that's what the president is, a good project manager.
Yes. But thank goodness Vance realized that he definitely gave Tarek more room than he should have, and shared that with Michael. Yeah. Because Michael looked distraught after that. She was sitting down in her quarters all by herself thinking about that. But Vance talked to her about, like, he had just made like a safe haven for him and his family. He thought things were going well, and that there's many different directions that they could go to try to find this isolithium. So he needed her help, but it's going to have to be like an undercover side mission. And he knows that she's done something like this before. She's gone and was able to like work within the lines, but also over the lines. So he was trying to give her some leeway to do that. And he would go to the other location. So it's not like that was the only mission that they had to find the isolithium. It's just that they divided and conquered.
I still feel like more people besides her should have went. Only in the sense that Michael, they have shown that she's had a history of making emotional and not logical decisions when it comes to people she loves. A third party who was not connected to Discovery, like at all, should have went with them. Just to be a completely unbiased or biased, whatever the right version is, because I'm tired, to be that person on the trip. Because if it goes bad, why would the president believe Michael didn't just let him go away? And so, like, I feel like she needed someone on Starfleet's side, but not technically on her side, to make sure everything that happened was kosher, if that makes sense, to protect her at the end of the day. Yes,
I agree with you. I think Kovich would have been a great person to bring along. Dr. Kovich, I know you're concerned about his character.
I still don't know.
He reads folks, and I really wish Terry and Georgia was here. She would be amazing.
This would have been her episode. Oh, she would have been happy.
Yeah, you wouldn't need Joanne in the ring. It could have just been her all day, every day.
Oh yeah, it was. I will say I did like the Black Girl Power. So I did like the girls trip, having fun out there, showing everyone that we can handle it. But I do wish they did have a third party there just to be an extra layer of protection. Yeah. Because not that I don't trust Michael, but she does have, her history doesn't really help her when it comes to making logical versus emotional decisions when it comes to people she loves. We've seen that time and time again. But okay, so we're going to keep going. So basically, most of the episode is really about Book and Tarek, however you say his name, trying to find the ingredients for this bomb, basically. And they end up going to an old courier location because he knows this person's going to have it. And Book is sort of upset because he's like, well, why are we running if you didn't even have everything? It was like, dude, like, this doesn't make any sense. He's like, well, I thought Starfleet would get it for me, but now we got to find other means. And you were a courier, so you can get it. And it's like, not how this works. And we see
another sign that Book should have taken.
And a lot of this episode was about Book almost falling back into his old persona. And we find out that, you know, they don't have the money to buy it. And so they offer their services to find a cheater within the little gambling establishment in exchange for the, I can't pronounce that word. So then we also see that Michael arrives because she falls into her old courier past. And I think that was a really good hologram to like hide it. That was so cool because you get to a world and you see this little water dragon like going in and out of the water. And then Michael's like, just, here it comes. And you just have to sort of go into the dragon's mouth. Who's going to do that? Who's going to do that? I'm not going to do that. I don't want to die. But you go through the hologram and then that's where you find the hidden establishment. And I find it's interesting that they're in there in Starfleet uniforms. I definitely thought they would have like changed into something else because they're not in Starfleet territory right now. So like, who knows how people feel about Starfleet. So I think that was a gamble and it sort of paid off for them. But also at the same time, locked them into certain actions that they could and couldn't do. Because if you go in there in all black, no one knows who you're affiliated with. You can do whatever you need to do. But if you're going to Starfleet uniform, even though you're out of Federation space, you're still repping the brand. So like you have to keep everything sort of above board because when you're in uniform, you're not just representing yourself, you're representing the organization.
Yeah, except for the manager of the underground casino knows her, so he would have recognized her instantly, but he was surprised absolutely to see her there in uniform and then also promoted through rank to captain. Yeah, I was shocked to see them also there. I was like, really, Michael? We've seen you in carrier uniforms outfits before. I love them actually. Bring it back, that red leather jacket.
Because yeah, I definitely just, granted, I don't want them to do anything illegal to get what they need, but it still sort of backs them into a corner of ethics that no one else is playing by right now. So we see that she's trying to buy the isotope before Book can complete his job to get it. And he's like, no. He's like, oh, fine, I want 5 times what they're offering. And she's like, bet, let me just call Starfleet. And he was like, bet, no, because I don't want any more Starfleet people here. And so they find a way to win the Latinium. And we see that Joanna is like, I'm about to go beat someone's butt because we need this money and I have aggression I need to get out. So, I'm sorry, I loved her fight scene. Did you?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It reminded me of like a pool hall hustle in which you're drawing people, you want to seem like you're a novice just to increase the wagers and then just take them down. She just took him down.
Just like right there. He will not be having kids anytime soon.
Oh yeah, she took him down for sure. After the 3rd round.
Yes, because that's what I think when the bets were the highest, because she had already taken like a dive twice.
Yeah. Oh, and it's really cool to see Michael as the hype woman.
Yes.
To try to increase the wagers and make it like a stage name for Joanne. Oh wow, I think was the names. So it was really cool to see the two of them work as a team. There's so much representation in this episode. It was just amazing. I loved it.
Michael, Book and Tarek, they catch the cheater just as Michael has enough money. And so they both run to the main guy and it's like, hey, we have everything. Give us the bomb piece, whatever. And the gentleman's like, oh, it's a tie. And no, so now you guys are gonna have to fight for it. Basically, they have to come up with another option, another way of breaking the tie between Book and Michael, which I think is very interesting.
Before we get into what happens next, I want to mention how they found out what was happening, and that's the change. That was a changeling. So there was a change. There was A species that's able to change physical form in different environments. And so it seems as though they were reading the cards or the games that they were playing and then communicating with each other. And one was changing forms in front of Book's eyes and walked across like a column and then changed into human form. And then Tarka, because I remember his name because it's similar to Larka Tarka. So Tarka ended up making some sort of contraction that would isolate the changeling so it wouldn't change any further. It was like a force field around him to escort the changeling to the this gambling manager, the manager of the gambling, to show that they had completed their mission and now hand over the isolithium. And he's like, wait, I also have other people that's interested.
Yes. And so now this means they have to play a poker game, a game that Michael and Book, well, Michael knows that Book is better than her at. And it's very interesting to see the personality that Michael puts on at the beginning of the game. It was like, who is this person? We all know this is not you. That part was very awkward for me to watch because it's just like, who are you? Like, Michael, this is not your personality. Or at least if this is your personality, you never let it come out unless it's like almost seems like you're acting, you know?
Yeah, actually, that's what I was thinking. I was like, it must have been interesting for Sonequa Martin Green to act like Michael, but then like act like Michael acting like she doesn't know what's going on.
I was like, this is
because she was more loud and more, I don't know, just a lot more vocal than she's usually is, which is completely opposite of what you expect from someone wearing the uniform. Come on. Mm-hmm.
I was uncomfortable only because it was just like, this is awkward and I don't do awkward things well. So like, okay, you're acting weird, but you need to act weird, but you're acting weird. Stop it.
Right. And the friends of Asira who wants the isolithium to do other things, they were like looking at her strange, like, what's going on here? Right. But she was trying to give Book some clues that she wanted to partner with him to remove them from the play, so that it's just the two of them that ends up duking it out in the end.
And they end up having a very heavy conversation. And Michael lets him know, like, if you go through with this, you're going to go past a point that, one, Starfleet can't forgive you. And two, you're burning all the bridges you built. And Book then goes on to say, what about the bridge with you? And that was a little bit heartbreaking because, and I got really mad at Book listening when he said that. Because I was like, how dare you put her in that position? Because you are purposely doing something illegal, knowing that she will have no choice but to follow the orders of Starfleet. And she even has to say, they're going to come after you, and I'm going to be one of the tools that they use to do so. And I'm like, Book, I understand that you're upset, but like, how, like, do you not get that it's wrong to ask her, is the bridge between you guys going to be broken? Of course it's going to be broken. Regardless of the fact if she wants it to be broken or not, she has no choice. Either she gives up everything and everyone for you, and you're still doing something wrong, or she stays with her family, stays with the people that she fought her entire life for, came to the future for. You're asking her to, and you're still going to do something that could not even work because you don't fully understand who you're attacking. I was so mad at him. He was like, is our bridge going to be burned? Yes, it's going to be burned, dude. What do you think is going to happen?
But just like you stated the last episode, Michael has gone through this.
She has.
Years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at least Book did not take Michael down with the Vulcan nerve pinch or fired a shot on her so that he could just take all the isolithium with them at the end of this. But like, he could have taken her down at other times in that location just so that he could focus on his mission. So
yes, and going back to the last episode, Andrea, yes, I definitely, that Andrea was correct. And I also feel like this Andrea is correct as well, in the sense that Michael was still wrong. Like, her actions, her means did not justify her actions. What she was trying to do, she was trying to stop a war. She still broke the rules to do so. It cost someone their life. It cost Giorgio her life, the original Giorgio, or this universe's Giorgio. It cost her relationships with a lot of people, and it caused the death of 600 people. Granted, those like the war was going to happen no matter what. She made Starfleet believe that she instigated it on her side. And Book is still breaking the rules. Even though he tried to say, when you first met me, I was stealing a cargo from another courier to release. Like, is this really so weird for you to think? And it's like, yeah, because now you've been with Starfleet. You've been sort of changing your ways somewhat in the last couple of like last season and this season. And now that this is happening, you are basically asking her to do something highly illegal and highly dangerous, because you're not just destroying the DMA, you're basically making a nuclear winter in a section of space. This has a bigger fallout than your actions, and you're still wrong.
Oh, absolutely. He's jumping to conclusions. He's just thinking short term. He wants to try to prevent this from happening again by destroying the DMA. Michael's more of a scientist, and she wants to know why this is happening, to think about how to prevent this from happening again and to figure out the bigger picture. It's the level of the way someone looks at something. Some people look at the smaller details about tomorrow, not about the long-term plan. And that's where he's at right now. And they're obviously not seeing eye to eye, and it's impacting their relationship.
Yes, it is. Because Book basically says he's willing to lose everything to do this. My heart goes out to him because he's in a ton of pain, but you don't know what your actions are going to cause. And as he wins and he takes the isolithium, said it correctly, the isolithium with him, Micah goes back to Starfleet, and the president basically sort of wants to ream her a new one. She was like, I was going to lose no matter what. And Vance, I love how Vance came to her aid. It was like she was out of Starfleet jurisdiction. She didn't have the support that she would have had if she was within Starfleet space. And she's like, and I tracked them. And the president's like, and let me go ahead and put my face back on. Let me go ahead and eat my words, take my foot up my mouth. They realize that they now can figure out where Book is, find him, and stop them before they try to set the bomb. And the beautiful thing is that now they still can jump. So even if Book's ship jumps and jumps and jumps, Paul can track them and jump and jump and jump and jump with them, unlike any other Starfleet ship.
So I'm just going to circle back a bit, because I wonder about this little timeline portion, and this might be nitpicking a little bit, but if Book and Tarka jumped to the isolated to the gambling location, how was Michael and Joanne able to catch up to them so quickly in just a shuttle hopper? So you mentioned the spore jump, so it reminded me of that little thing. But overall, I like the episode, so I'll focus on the other things, because I think what we're realizing here is that Michael was able to cover both missions simultaneously. She was able to get the survey results that they need for that new location that they need to go to, as well as track the isolithium. I was hoping, though, that she was going to degrade the isolithium when she was there. I was like, well, maybe she's going to find some sort of way to degrade it. There's a lot of what ifs that were going through my mind, but so that their explosion would not occur.
And to your point of the timeline, I think I viewed it as it was happening everything was happening at the same time. We were just being shown it separately. So Book didn't immediately jump to the location, because he had the whole conversation with Tarek and was like, what are you talking about? You don't have what you need. And at the same time, Michael's getting reamed at the time, the president's like, this is what we're going on. And then Michael's like, all right, well, I think I might know where they need to go to get the isolithium. So we're going to go there to try and stop them. And then Book is like, I know where to go to get the isolithium. And so even though they jumped there, because Book was there before they got there. So I think everything was sort of happening at the same time, but it made it seem like it wasn't happening at the same time the way they shot it. That's how I viewed it. So it was
Yeah,
like things
I
were
just
just
think
sort
the
of
shuttle should have traveled much slower, especially slower than a traditional spaceship, let alone bookship. But I understand.
I mean, they were warping it, so
Yeah.
it's really interesting. We don't see warp a lot on Discovery. I miss it sometimes.
Yes. I though really like the fact that the majority of this episode took place at the gambling
Yeah.
location. There was a few flash I don't know sequences back on Discovery. And one of them was Hugh, who seems to be stressed out right now to the point in which he's yelling at a robot, overwhelmed because I think he feels as though he's partially to blame for Book going rogue, but a true therapist wouldn't.
Yeah, because he has
So
no training in this.
yes, and he's also, I don't know, it still doesn't have as much closure as he need about his survivor syndrome. So Hugh is stressed. I'm concerned about like the robot, because even though Hugh told the robot not to clean, the robot still cleaned. And then after Hugh left, the robot still went to clean, even though Hugh clearly told the robot to just dock in the docking station. So I'm hoping that these robots, including Zora, aren't going around the rest of the crew's back, the human crew's back, to do things. I'm a little concerned about Zora and the bots.
I think that whole storyline you should just stop because I'm annoyed with it. I'm so done with it. It doesn't seem organic. It seems so forced. Like I didn't believe his crisis in this episode. It was just like, all right, dude, I can definitely tell you're acting, and you're a much better actor than this.
Yeah,
You are a much better actor than this. I don't believe it. I really feel like they're forcing him to have like a mental breakdown when I don't think organically it fits into this scenario. I just think there's always a problem. It's either Paul or Hugh, or Paul or Hugh, or Paul or Hugh, and this time it's just Hugh, and it's just like I didn't connect to it. I didn't feel bad. I didn't connect to that his like anger at all. I'm like, I'm over that storyline right now.
so I like that Paul offered a de-stress option for Hugh, and that they were going to walk about on the holodeck. I like that because that shows us Paul's coming around, but it really makes me question the Federation, because the Federation should assign a counselor to the ship, a full-time counselor, not a part-time counselor between medical operations. So
Because like always give them an issue. They can just be normal, happy people. No one else on Discovery has this many issues as this couple. Like no one, not even Michael, has so many emotional ups and downs as a couple. Again, this is the only couple we get on Discovery. Like Book, he's not Starfleet, but like this is the only Starfleet couple we're seeing, and they are always in crisis, always up and down. All like, can we just have a season of goodness, please? No stress, because I didn't believe it. I was over it, but we'll see what happens.
speaking of seeing what happened at the end, when the debriefing session, and they were talking more about the species 10C, now that they know the coordinates and the DMA, and that it may not be a weapon, that
It's not a weapon, because they find out that they're in the location. There's like this little sphere of like that's blocking out this sector, and they said inside there's enough for like 3 or 4 orbiting bodies. There's enough room for a star, and they realize that there's like a mineral missing from that element, from that world. And so the DMA, which has literally destroyed a world, it is assumed at the end of the episode that the DMA is a mining thing to mine the Bornite, Boronite, a mineral that is not showing up in that sector. And everywhere that the DMA has been is where that element has been, and now it's no longer there. And Vance is like, oh my gosh, if this is just their mining equipment, what do the weapons look like? And so we need to really stop Book, because he's going to start all that war. And I'm just like, it's now coming up that it's not on purpose, which is still great. They didn't mean to do it, but like, I wanted this to almost be on purpose.
Well, it plays right into Michael's speech from the last episode, in which he was talking about like, I don't know, the cycle of
caterpillars and bugs and stuff like that.
Yeah. What I could really tell is that the president really likes Saru. Like, even when Michael and Paul were talking their scientific jargon back and forth, the president looked over to Saru and said, Saru, can you explain this for me? Saru, can you explain it time and time again? And also in other times during this episode, Saru was able to read Michael and tell that Michael was up to something and possibly going on 2 missions at the same time. So once again, I really like Saru, and his character is solid, consistent. Doug Jones does a really good job.
He does. He really does. So now, as we come to the end of this episode, we now know that there's a good chance that this was all an accident and then brought us on a whole nother wild goose chase of a possible villain. And it's not a villain. The villain is the human whose name is Book. And he's not even human. He's a Quajon now, because they now need to stop him to protect possibly everyone. Because if this secret hidden society is as advanced as they think it is, Book blowing up the DMA could be considered an act of war, which in all actuality is not really. I mean, granted, it could be, but when you think about it, it's, if that's not a weapon and it's just a mining thing, them blowing up the mine and then the people coming out like, why'd you do that? Well, you destroyed our world. What? I mean, it could all go so many different ways, you know? It could go in a really, really bad way and they take it as an act of war, or it could go into a way that Starfleet did. Well, let's figure out what's going on. Well, why would they do this? Let's see if we can make a peaceful first contact. So we don't really know what's going to happen. I just know that I wanted a villain, and I don't think I'm getting the villain I wanted. This means this entire season might be for naught, and I'm going to be really upset.
Well, I have a feeling that Tarka is going to be our villain.
But that's not the villain I wanted. I wanted the villain of the DMA.
Yeah,
I wanted this huge mystery to be amazing, and now it's just like a footnote of, well, that was an accident. Yeah, let's kill 1 billion people in accident.
I'm going to go out there on a limb, but I'm going to say that he may have lied to. I think he lied to it. I think his motive is not what he stated earlier.
Probably
and
not.
Somehow he's connected to this.
Could very much so be.
I also think that this is going to be some sort of metaphor for Book. I know when his character was introduced, he species, endangered species, and who knows if
now he's an endangered species.
Endangered and they need resources. They're all out of food or something like that. But there's going to be some sort of like oops moment to Book, like, oh, I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions. I should have thought about this further. Federation was not really stable, still not stable. So
I just wanted a big bad. I didn't want any.
We're halfway into the season. We still got lots of time.
I hope I'm wrong, guys. I really do. Because if this is just an accident and then it turns it, I don't know. Just don't let me down. I'm afraid this is going to be a whole nother season 3 type thing again. I don't want that. I'll be very pissed off. I will throw my favorite mug. It's not this one. I will throw my favorite mug.
Yeah, so we'll see if the ends justify the means in many ways, both of our time as well as for Book and this going against really his love.
Yeah,
of his
and
life.
all that is right and just in the world.
Yeah,
in that world, not this world.
Trusting a stranger over his love, risking everything, his career,
his reputation.
So one more thought. I hope to see his father again at some point in time. And there's a few other characters we really didn't get a chance to see. I hope that they are brought out as much as Joanne. This was a really fun episode with her.
I just want a good ending. That's all. That's my final thought. I just want a good ending. Because at the end of this episode, it's just like, if they try to swindle this into an accident, I want more. Okay. Well, as always, I'm Andrea.
And I'm Anika.
And live long and prosper.